In a recent breakdown of ideal team pairings for remaining NFL free agents, ESPN analyst Matt Bowen bypassed the expected narratives. No surprise Rams reunion for Jalen Ramsey. No reunion for Simmons in Denver. Instead, a different defensive pairing came into focus. Justin Simmons to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This wasn't just a plug-and-play prediction. Bowen cited scheme fit, positional need, and locker room leadership as driving reasons behind the move. For a defense that thrives on communication and anticipation, Simmons, a smart, rangy veteran, could quietly become a stabilizing force in a secondary that's still finding its shape. The fit in Todd Bowles' defense Tampa Bay ran more zone coverage than any team in the league last year under head coach and defensive architect Todd Bowles. In that scheme, safeties do more than just cover deep thirds or fill run gaps. They act as field generals. And Simmons, still just 30, has made a career out of being exactly that. Instinctive, composed, and verbally commanding. Bowles' scheme demands interchangeability. Players need to spin to the post, come downhill, play robber, and handle coverage checks mid-snap. Simmons fits that mold like a glove. According to those close to the Bucs locker room, safety communication is the spine of the entire system. It's what allows Winfield Jr. to freelance. It's what gives linebackers coverage freedom. And it's why Simmons, despite a 2023 campaign that was merely solid, not spectacular, still brings immense value to a system like this. Do the Buccaneers need him? Here's where things get more complicated. The Bucs may want Simmons, but do they need him? The current safety room is layered, if not flashy. Tiki Smith, a tweener by trade, is expected to make the full-time move to safety. Christian Ezien, who's played all over the secondary, brings starting experience. Kayvon Merriweather and Marcus Banks are rotational pieces with real game tape. Antoine Winfield Jr., of course, remains the anchor. Add in developmental depth like Rashad Wisdom, J.J. Roberts, and Shiloh Sanders, and you're looking at a position group with something rare in today's league. Familiarity, continuity, internal trust. Simmons might elevate the ceiling, but he might also complicate the chemistry. The risk versus the reality. Let's be clear, Simmons wasn't a liability last year in Atlanta, but he wasn't a difference maker either. His range seemed a step slower, his instincts occasionally off-timed. That happens with mileage. It happens with defensive instability. And it can make general managers wary when weighing value versus impact. Still, if Bowles and GM Jason Licht want to insulate their playoff-caliber defense with experience, Simmons is the type of player who won't cost you games and might win you a few with a tipped pass or timely call. He knows what it looks like when things fall apart and how to steady it before it does. Fresh eyes, new questions. This isn't the kind of free agency move that lights up group chats or dominates morning talk shows. It's the kind of move that coaches love and quarterbacks hate. But for a team like Tampa Bay, a team chasing continuity but not content with complacency, adding Simmons could represent a small but vital shift toward sustained playoff relevance. And in the modern NFL, where margins are thinner than ever, those shifts are what separate the noise from the real contenders. When the name Justin Simmons is mentioned, it still carries weight. But what that weight means today, and how much of it an NFL defense can or should carry, is another conversation entirely. Statistically speaking, Simmons wasn't a wreck last year. But he wasn't a difference maker either. His Pro Football Focus grades, 59.9 overall, 60.8 in coverage, point to a player who was serviceable, but not exceptional. He had flashes, 2 interceptions, a handful of veteran plays. But for a defense like Tampa Bay's that's leaning younger, faster, and more versatile, that might not be enough. At 31, soon to be 32, Simmons isn't quite the enforcer he was in Denver. His range has narrowed. The acceleration that once let him close windows in zone or mirror slot receivers in match coverage isn't as sudden. And so the question becomes, is he worth a spot? Crowded room, clear vision. Take a close look at the Buccaneers' depth chart, not just on paper, but in the direction they're clearly trying to go. Tyke Smith, a converted hybrid who has impressed in early offseason work, is viewed internally as a starter opposite Antoine Winfield Jr. That's a major statement. Smith brings youth, physicality, and familiarity with the new era defense Todd Bowles is building. Behind them, Christian Ezien has proven he can play both safety spots. Kayvon Merriweather has upside the team is quietly bullish on. And Marcus Banks is coming into his own as a potential swing defender. There's a youth movement happening, and it's not subtle. In that context, Simmons might be a floor raiser, but not a ceiling breaker. The best case scenario? He's your number 1, 3 safety. Realistically, he's depth insurance, and that's a role younger, cheaper players are already primed to fill. Other names, better fits? If you're asking whether Tampa Bay should pursue veteran help, the question shouldn't begin and end with Simmons. There are other names that might serve this roster better. Julian Blackmon, for instance, still has twitch and positional flexibility. Kawan Williams and Kazir White haven't been connected to the Bucs in this round of reporting, but both offer intriguing upside. Especially White, a tone-setting inside linebacker who could add bite to a front 7 still searching for consistent energy. Even Trey Hendrickson and Zadarius Smith, while likely long shots due to contract size or scheme fit, feel more like needle movers than Simmons. Measuring need versus nostalgia. There's a temptation, always, to reach for the known. The veteran. The communicator. The guy who's done it before. But in the NFL, done it before can become a trap, especially when you have a young core that's already showing signs of cohesion. Simmons doesn't disrupt anything, but he doesn't accelerate anything either. The Buccaneers don't need placeholders. They need growth agents. That's not a slight to Simmons. That's the reality of team building.